Thanks, Monica. Here's my letter to the Health Minister. Dear Health Minister, on June the 29th, 6 weeks ago, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl with my husband by my side, but he wasn't allowed to stay for more than 2 hours over the following 3 days in hospital. This little girl is our second child, and both births were complicated. Having my husband at hospital during the birth wasn't for our baby, but for me. To support me during the most emotional, exhausting, and vulnerable time. In the lead up to my birth and since, I have deeply been concerned knowing that fathers at now all hospitals are restricted to visiting with their partners and their new babies for 2 hours a day. I'm concerned for the mental health of Victorian mums, especially those first-time mothers that are going through this journey. In the lead up to my daughter's birth, midwives spoke about preventative measures that I could take to avoid postnatal depression. With one of the easiest preventative measures and plans being to see and speak with 5 different people a day. As COVID unfolded, I was told that video calls with family and friends were what I would need to do. This is not the same. It's like telling somebody trying to quit smoking to watch a YouTube video. It's useless. During my stay in hospital, I shared a room with 3 other mums, each one a first-time mum, and each one fighting their own mental health battle with minimal support from their husbands due to these restrictions. One soon-to-be mum had been pregnant with twins. She had lost one twin and had arrived at the hospital for fear of losing the other. As I lay in my bed, I could hear her and her husband being told that she would remain in hospital until the remaining twin was delivered. But there were many issues and it wasn't clear whether her baby would survive. Not long after this news, as she and her husband wept together, the voice over the loudspeaker told all visitors to leave to help the hospital to comply with these COVID restrictions. This first-time mother was left to weep in her hospital bed on her own. She didn't want to be comforted by a stranger. She wanted to be comforted, and she needed her husband. Health Minister, I'm not a first-time mum. I have no history of mental health, and I have a supportive community behind me. My husband is strong, and he wouldn't leave me if I needed him there to help me and support me mentally and physically while I'm in hospital. Without his strength, I would not have been okay in hospital on my own. The mums of Victoria, and especially first-time mums, are not going to be okay. For many new mums, what should be an exciting time has been replaced with anxiety, fear, and doubt. We're exhausted, we're hormonal, and we're mentally depleted, and we need our husbands to support us. Do you know that pre-COVID, 1 in 5 mothers and 1 in 10 fathers suffered from postnatal depression? My deepest concern is that due to these restrictions, these numbers will rise. I understand that we are in a grip of a global pandemic and you are acting in according to the advice of your advisors. However, as doctors adhere to a do no harm creed, I believe that the mental health and well-being of our new mums and dads are being overlooked by your department. I urge you to please reconsider, to lift the restrictions and allow fathers to stay as long as they need to support their mothers, because they need it. What has happened to me isn't something that could happen to anybody. It's also not the worst that's happened. And I'm not asking for anybody's sympathy, but multiply my experience by every aspect of life and by 5 million people, and the unintended consequences and the suffering is unnecessary. It doesn't have to be this way. Back to you, Monica.